2 Corinthians chapter 8, verse 11. I think this is where we stopped last week, Thursday, I imagine. It says, now therefore perform the doing of it, that as there was a readiness to will, there may be a performance also out of that which you have. For if there be first a willing mind, it is accepted according to that a man has, and not according to that he has not. So, I was saying to you that the heart that is willing to give is the most important factor. When you're looking at generosity, the kind of life that a believer should live, the heart that is willing to give is the most important factor. Because he says, if there is a willing mind, it is accepted according to what you have. And do not forget that part of the things that we have seen over and over again talking about giving is that everybody is meant to give according to their capacity. You are meant to give according to how God prospers you. You are not meant to give out of what you... 2 Corinthians chapter 9 verse 5. It says, therefore I thought it necessary to exhort the brethren that they would go before unto you and make up beforehand your bounty, whereof you had notice before, that the same might be ready as a matter of bounty and not of covetousness. But this I say, he which soweth sparingly shall reap also sparingly, and he which soweth bountifully shall reap bountifully. Every man according as he has purposed in his heart, so let him give, not grudgingly. Do you see that? Are you here? Not grudgingly. Not grudgingly. Let nobody give grudgingly, not grudgingly, or of necessity. That is, let it not be that they forced you, right? Let nobody give grudgingly or of necessity, for God loveth a cheerful giver. God loves a cheerful giver. Now, the word that is used, well, maybe let me not even go that route. He says that in verse 6 says that I say unto you, he that sows sparingly shall reap sparingly, and he which soweth bountifully shall reap bountifully. So that the apostle is now using the idea of sowing, the analogy of sowing, as a way to explain this thing about giving, generosity, right? This is not the only place where he does it. In fact, in Galatians chapter 6 verse 8, so let's read Galatians chapter 6 verse 6. Let's read from verse 6. Galatians 6 from verse 6. He says, let him that is taught in the word communicate unto him that teacheth in all good things. Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. Now if you read Galatians chapter 6 verse 8 all by itself, outside of the context that it is placed in, you will think that what he's talking about is sowing to the flesh is maybe doing bad things, but sowing to the Spirit is like fasting, prayer, and all of that. Except that if you read it in the context, you will see that what he's saying is he's following up from verse 6. In verse 6, he says, the person that is taught the word, let that person share in all good things to the person that teaches him. He's basically saying that if somebody teaches you the Bible, if somebody teaches you the word, if somebody is laboring over you in doctrine, part of the things that are your responsibilities are that you need to share in all good things. You need to share in your resources to the person, right? So you need to learn that it is part of your responsibilities to give to your pastors, to give to your teachers. It is a responsibility that you have. The Apostle Peter says that the elders that rule well should be counted. No, Paul. He says the elders that rule well should be counted worthy of double honor, especially they that labor in the word and doctrine. But the point I want to show you is that this is the context in Galatians chapter 6, verse 6. But then in verse 7 and verse 8, he uses the sowing analogy to the flesh. He will from the flesh reap corruption. So that what he's talking about is he's talking about giving, but he's using sowing. He's using this agricultural terminology to explain. You get to explain what he's saying. You get the point? Yes. So that's not the only place. So he does it here as well. He that sows to the flesh will of the flesh reap corruption. He that sows to the spirit. What is the idea? The idea is basically the person who shares with his teacher is sowing to the spirit. Do you get the point? Do you get the point? Who does not understand it? Okay, you understand. The person who shares with his teacher is sowing to the spirit. That's basically what he's saying. Alright? Now, go back to 2 Corinthians chapter 9. So he says that he that sows sparingly will reap sparingly, but he that sows bountifully will reap bountifully. And then he now goes on to say that every man, 2 Corinthians 9:7, every man according as he has purposed in his heart, so let him give. So he's further explaining 2 Corinthians chapter 9 verse 6. What does it mean to give sparingly? What does it mean to give bountifully? Giving sparingly does not mean giving sparingly is not giving small. Giving bountifully is not giving plenty. Remember the widow and her 2 mites. Right? Jesus said that widow of the other people, and the reason was because they gave out of their abundance, she gave out of her poverty. It means that according as God had prospered them, those people were not giving commensurate to their prosperity level. Are you following me? Right? But this woman had given beyond her prosperity level. She had given out of her poverty. Sounds like the Macedonian Church. Remember? The Macedonian Church, he says that they gave out of their poverty, that their poverty overflowed into generosity. And so, the point of giving sparingly is not that, for instance, if we say we have a project that is going to cost us 10 million naira to run, so we're asking you to give, and then you give 100 naira, that's not giving sparingly, that's giving what you have. And if that's what you have, and you gave it cheerfully in your heart, that's giving bountifully. Do you understand the point? If you can give 1 million naira and you say, Kai, only me, I'll just foot the whole bill. Let me give 20k. And you gave 20k, what you did was you gave sparingly. Because number one, you were not giving in keeping with your prosperity level. Number two, you were not giving cheerfully. You were giving, the word is, you were giving with sorrow. Like you they vex, they give. Like, I beg, take. Huh? Just take. That kind of person is going to receive that kind of reward. Are you following? God said, go do it. Anything you see, take it like that. Alright? So, he says, this I say, he that sows sparingly shall reap also sparingly, and he which sows bountifully shall reap also bountifully. Verse 7. Every man according as he has purposed in his heart, so let him give, not marked for other purposes, but right? So that's the context of sacrificial giving. Do you get the point? Sacrificial giving is not that you give your school fees. You know school is about to start, and if you have given your school fees before, the Lord will have mercy on you. You stole from, it's not your money. Your school fees is not your money. Your house rent is not your money. Your parents give you money to pay house rent. You now say, but we need microphone in church. What's wrong with you? Are you okay? Go and pay your house rent. Are you following me? Do you get the point? Uh-huh. They kept cooperative money with you. You say, God knows. God will replenish it. A man of God said, faith and foolishness, the both of them start with letter F. And many times foolishness looks like faith. but it's foolishness. Are you following me? So, let it be the case that every time you give, there is joy in your heart. See, you need to discipline yourself to be generous. You need to train yourself into the art of giving. Are you following me? Some of us, we are stingy by default. That's the brand of the fall that is upon our life. Stinginess. You need to break that thing by giving till you start liking to give. God loves a cheerful giver. God loves a cheerful giver. Are you hearing me? And he says that when you want to give, the way to give is to purpose in your heart, right? And to be happy with the thing that you are doing. Let it not be the case that the pressure was external. And that external pressure now forced you, because everybody in technical is giving 100k. Me now. Oh, let me just... Do you get the point? No, that's not the way it goes. That's not the way it goes. He says that every man should purpose in his heart. Because, like you see in 2 Corinthians chapter 8, it is accepted according to what you have if the mind is willing. So this is the point. That if the mind was not willing and you gave a lot, you just did, well done. Nothing will happen there. Do you get the point? So, are you here? So, you didn't want to give, you were not interested in the giving, but you just now said, let me just do this thing so it will not be as if I didn't do it. And then you gave the 10 million naira to solve the project. In God's mind, it would have been better if you didn't give, because it is a willing mind first that is accepted. Are you following me? That is what is accepted first. It is a willing mind before what you have. And it will have been better if you had a willing mind and you purposed in your heart to give 200k than to vex and give 10 million. Are you following me? Now, this applies to every category of giving. Whether you are giving to the Lord, you are giving maybe for a project, you are giving to his servant, you are giving to your parents, you are giving to your colleague, you are giving to your friend, whatever the case. Let it be the case that it is a willing mind first. Are you following me? Let it be the case that it is a willing mind. If we announce in church and we say, we have this project, everybody should give, and you don't want to give, it's better that you don't give. Yes. We need to discuss why you don't want to give on a later day and find out the color of your problem. But if that's the case, let it be that your actions are aligned with what was in your heart. Because if you went ahead to just give just like that, it still doesn't change the fact that your mind was not willing. Do you get the point? Do you get the point? And I'm saying, yes, if we announce and we say there's a project, that's the leading of God to give. You don't need God to lead you again. Hello? So if we say, for instance, now, we want to do this thing, then we need so amount of money. Then you say, I'm waiting for God to lead me. This announcement that I made, that's the leading of the Spirit. You don't need another leading. Are you hearing me? Yes, you don't need another leading. As the need is the leading. But I'm saying to you that you need to ensure that your heart is inside the thing. If your heart is not inside the thing, it's a waste of time to put your hand inside the thing. He says for the Macedonian church that they first gave themselves to God, and then they gave themselves to us, and then the thing that they gave struck a chord. It was because they gave themselves first to God. Are you following? They gave themselves first to God, then they gave themselves to us. And I told you that I was not going to explain that one deliberately. But they gave themselves to God first, then they gave themselves to us. It almost looks like these people were as committed to the men of God as they were committed to the God of the men. They gave themselves to God, then they gave themselves to us. Then their giving made sense. So that if they had not given themselves to God and they were giving, it will not have made sense. There will be money, you will never receive a reward. God will do as if he did not notice. Are you following me? Go back to 2 Corinthians chapter 8. Stay in verse 13. Look at what he says from verse 13 to verse 15. So he says, for I mean not that other men be eased, and ye burdened, but by an equality, that now at this time your abundance may be a supply for their want, that their abundance also may be a supply for your want, that there may be equality. Verse 15 says, as it is written, he that had gathered much had nothing over, and he that had gathered little had no lack. So, look at what he's saying. Look at verse 15. Verse 15 says, he that had gathered much had nothing over, and he that had gathered little had nothing to lack. Now, this is actually taken from Exodus when the children of Israel gathered the manna. That's where this place is quoted from. But there is a principle here. The principle here is that it is God's plan that the financial status of his children sustain equality. And you see, I can tell you how it is in scripture. I'm not sure I know exactly how to make it happen. I'm not sure. But God's goal is that the difference between the person that gathers much and the person that gathers little will not be so obvious. Because the person that gathers little will not have lack. And the person that gathers much will not have too much to run over. Okay, so what I mean by gather is, let's say your job is the means by which you gather, right? And it is the case that you earn 2,500 naira every 3 months, right? So you are not paid every month, you are paid every 3 months, and you earn 2,500 every 3 months. The goal of God is that because some other person earns 7 million naira every month, it will not be obvious that you have a lack. Are you following me? This is why generosity is so important. And this is why there must be a culture of giving that does not expect a reward. Because it might be the case that you meet Jesus, you will only be giving. Nobody will give to you. Because according to how God planned it that you will gather much. And you will always keep gathering much. So that you will be the perpetual giver. Huh? Are you hearing me? There will be no reward. A time will not come when somebody will give to you. Because the plan is that you will gather much. And because you gather much, you have a lot to spread. And then there are other people that will not gather much. It's not like they are not going to be working. It's not like they are not going to be honest. It's not like they are not going to be doing their jobs. You get the point? But even when they work, they think that they gather will not be as much for what they need. And so God will set setting in the body that will gather so much so that they can distribute it to the needs of the many. If people give only for a reward, a time will come when this perpetual plenty gatherer will say, me, I'm always giving. Nobody is giving to me. Do you get the point? Why is it that it's the case that I am always giving and nobody is giving to me? Every time I'm the one giving, I'm the one giving, I'm the one giving. There has never come a time when these people I'm giving to actually stood up and say, okay, Oga, take. Part of the reasons is because according to the design of God, some people will gather much. Everybody will be working, but some people will gather much, some people will gather little. But God intends that the difference between the person who gathers much and the person who gathers little will not be so obvious. The person who gathers little will not have lack. Do you get the point? So now you see why I say I'm not even sure the practicality. Do you get the point? I'm not sure how this thing works practically. I'm not sure. I don't know. Is it that we'll have a database in church where you show how much you earn and how much you need? Then I'll say, okay, your deficit is 400k. And I'll say, you, every month, 400k, put it there. I don't know how we do it, right? But what I know is that if we give properly, this kind of thing will happen. Part of the reasons, you see, I don't know if I should share this. Well, maybe I should. A while ago, the Lord was saying to me that part of the things that he designed for the Nigerian church is that there was supposed to be a synergy between the southern church and the northern church. And the synergy was supposed to be that the southern part of the church, or the southern church in Nigeria, will be blessed by God with resources, money, finances. And the northern part of the church in Nigeria will be blessed by God with fire. And that is the plan. But it turns out that God's plan is that there will be a synergy between the southern church and the northern church, so that the southern church will be able to funnel resources into the northern church, right? And then the northern church will be able to funnel fire into the southern church. If the southern church decides that we want to make our own fire, they will not have. It's not giving. It's not giving. Yes. The way that God intends for fire to reach the southern part of the church is from the north. The north is the hub. Now, you see, I don't like saying these kinds of things because there's how it's sounding in your ear. But I'm telling you, the north is the hub. Is the hub. This is the place where fire is made, so that it can be exported to the south. And if it was working well, we will have a situation where there will be equal finances across board and there will be equal fire across board. Do you get the point? But you know, me and you know that the southern church has failed in this responsibility. There are churches in this northern Nigeria that have been burnt, destroyed. The only reason why they don't exist anymore is because the independent missionaries do not have the funds to raise them up again. There are many churches that have been burnt, suffered at the hands of terrorists that cannot regroup again because there are no funds. And there are people in the southern church that have enough money to, they don't need to raise, in fact, they don't need to collect offering again for the next 20 years and they'll be fine. I'm telling you. You see, you may not believe, but I can say to you that the southern church is very rich in this country. Churches have money. Hey. That's why people used to think all of us have money. But churches have money. You have no idea. I'm talking the Nigerian church, in my opinion, is as rich or even richer than the Nigerian government. The Nigerian church. We have money. But I'm saying to you that the money is localized in the south. God's plan was supposed to be that there will be equality across board. Right? So that these southern churches that God has blessed with finances are now supposed to look out for which church in the north is struggling. Can we support? Which missionaries can we help? Do you get the point? So that the money is not just there, but it needs to be the case that there are churches that don't need to worry about money forever. Let it be the case that there is a budget for running the church. That budget for running the church is funneled to a southern church. Right? And that southern church sponsor. Let the church just keep discipling people and raising fire. When you finish, send two. Let them come and meet our young people and do small discipleship for them. I'm telling you, this is the plan. The southern church has failed. So Jesus told me that he's raising money for the northern church. So you see this thing I said, give it 20 years. You will see the thing you are seeing in the south, you will see it in the north. Yes. So there will be fire and there will be funds. We are living in good days. The Lord, I don't want to say too much, but the Lord gave me a sign. There was a sign that he gave. And that sign was a sign that he has found out that a lot of people have failed in this regard. So he's raising our own. And it needs to now be the case that when he does, we will steward it properly. Yes. When God has blessed us, let it be the case. And you see, this thing is not denominational. Let us go to Ekwa and say, how many missionaries do you people have in Borno State? We want to fund them. Don't worry. Just leave us. They are your missionaries. They are not our missionaries. Let them keep planting. It's not TPH they are planting, Ekwa. They should keep planting Ekwa Church. Right? But we want to fund them. How many do you people have in Sokoto? We want to. Are you following? Yes. This is the way that God planned that his resources that he puts in our hands will be stewarded. But what usually happens is when we don't have what to do with money again. You know, there are times when your needs are exhausted. There's no problem. There's no problem you have that you don't have the money to solve. That's when you now realize that let's build 14-story. This our story building that is 12. So it's not enough. It's not enough. Let's build 14. That's when you realize that this our private jet. We have 4 private jets, but if we fly the private jet, it must stop every 8 hours to refuel. So we need a private jet that can fly for 20 hours without refueling. It's because they have lost sight of the plan. The plan is that he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that gathered little had no lack. And part of the ways you want to begin to posture yourself is to fix yourself into this kind of place. To say that if God is blessing you, you will look out for somebody to be a blessing to. Are you following me? This is, I need you to hear me. Look out for somebody to be a blessing to. From the little you have 10K, your needs are 9K. Don't find how to be giving somebody that 1K. You say, I want to save it. Save from your needs. Sacrifice and save. Then take the extra and give. Learn the principle. Are you following me? This is how people behave in this promised land behavior. This promised land behavior. That the person that has gathered much will not pretend like he's oblivious to the sight of the person that has gathered little. I know how to abase, I know how to abound. How do you abound? Number one, you must know generosity. It must be a part of you. The person that God has blessed financially must be willing to share. First Timothy chapter 6, verse 17. 17 to 19. First Timothy 6, 17 to 19. The apostle says, charge them that are rich in this world, that they be not high-minded, nor trust in uncertain riches, but in the living God, who giveth us richly all things to enjoy. Now look at verse 17. He says, charge them. Stay in verse 17, please. Charge them that are rich in this world, that they be not high-minded, nor trust in uncertain riches. Now, part of the things that you will need to learn on your journey to the promised land, part of the things that you will need to learn as the Lord trains you in the wilderness, is you need to ensure that your trust is in God. Because the temptation to put your trust in riches is a very loud temptation. It's very present. It's very present. So he says, charge them that are rich in this world, that they are not proud, they are not high-minded, and they should not trust in uncertain riches, but they should trust in the living God, who giveth us richly all things to enjoy. Now, you see, when we tell you that God is committed to meeting your needs and all of that, part of the things that people usually think is that God is against your enjoyment. God hates pleasure. So you want to go to South Africa for vacation. Say, why? My friend, will you go to the missions field? No. That's not our God. God also gives us richly all things to enjoy. Are you following me? Are you following me? Yes, and the two things are not contradictory. God gives us richly all things to enjoy. Yes. To enjoy. This is not purpose and destiny. This is enjoyment. Yes. Yes, A 2002 Toyota Corolla may be enough for destiny. God can give you 2022 on, so that you will enjoy. I know you would never believe that I can tell you this kind of thing. God gives us richly all things to enjoy. Are you following me? And I can say to you that there are seasons of your life where God will be committed to your enjoyment. God said, my daughter, flex. Yes. That's promised land. But you see, you go past. God will need to ensure that you are the kind of person he can trust with enjoyment, and you will not start trusting in riches. Are you following me? Yes, you may not be in enjoyment yet. You are still in pap. Be drinking pap. Ice cream is coming. Stay with that custard. Stay with it. Yes, but a day will break. That God will usher you into the promised land. And God will say, yes, I'm committed to your enjoyment. I want to show off in your life. Oh? Yes. I'm telling you, you will see it. You will see it. It will almost look as if you'll be begging God that these things are not necessary. Then I go, what am I using this one for? God say, my son, enjoy. Yes, it's a season in your life. If you are not in that season, if you put yourself there, you will come out with many tears and many sorrows. Are you following me? Yes, you will come out with many tears and many sorrows. So I don't want you to think that I'm just a preacher of doom and pain. There is pleasure too small. Yes, God gives us richly all things to enjoy. And that season will break upon your life. When you see, it is God that will usher you into that season. Remember I told you that in every season of your life, God will be enough for you. Yes, there is a season of your life where there is no enjoyment. It will be hard. You will just be moving. It will be hard. A season will come where there will now be ease as you do the thing. There will be enjoyment as you do the thing. Purpose will be fixed, but God will now add lubrication. Are you following me? Yes. I was saying to some of you that the person that has not followed me to Agunbiade cannot follow me to Australia. Right? You see, when we were coming back from that place, that journey was, I don't know how they used to say it. It was like living in hell. It was like living in hell. When we first got to the first, you see, because number one, a flight was not going to work because of the complexity of the location. And because of the fact that I wanted to be in Jos on Tuesday. The only way to use a flight was to get to Jos on Wednesday. And I said, no, I needed to be in Jos on Tuesday. So I said, we'll just go by road. And the place we went to was so removed. It was like 9 hours removed from Lagos. Do you get? So very weird things. Maybe like 2 hours from Akure. But if you go to Akure, you now have to fly to Lagos, then fly to Jos or fly to Abuja. It was just very weird. So we said we'll come by road. I don't know whether it was the worst decision that we got to Jos. But you see, when we got to the park and we saw the car that we will enter, I told them, I said, if this car gets to Abuja, it will be a miracle. I saw things in that journey that I've never seen before. I didn't know that people used to use water for hydraulic. So the clutch will stop working. The man will now come down and remove water and open the engine and put it inside. Then it will work for like 1 hour or 30 minutes. Then it will stop working again. Then people started complaining and the man started shouting. I didn't know when I was pissed. Because I had been keeping it in. I was just looking at the man I was keeping. At some point I let it out. I'm like, what exactly is your problem? When we finished that one, we got to Abuja by like maybe like 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock thereabout. So we said, okay, from Abuja, how do we navigate to Jos? Of course, we cannot use Virgin. We did not book. So it's suffering. So instead of using this car that will go through the longer route, I was wise. I said, let's break the journey. Let's go to Akwanga. We'll just get a car to Akwanga. Then from Akwanga, we'll get another car to Jos. That seemed like the wise thing to do. Until we now stayed for almost 2 hours waiting for that car to fill up. And we were waiting for one person. I was I was frustrated. I walked around the park. They were in the car. I was just walking around. Like, what kind of nonsense is this one? Like, it almost felt like, and at some point, I even felt like, just pay for that extra one seat. Because we had paid for an extra seat, right? But just pay for that extra one seat, let you people be going. But it just felt like the wrong thing to do. It didn't feel like the right thing to do. Because I don't have a problem in paying for extra seats. But it didn't feel like the right thing to do. So I was just there. So I went to meet the man. I said, Oga, it's just one seat that is remaining. This way bill you have carried now is more than double, because it's more than double the price of this one seat. So you have made money. Let's go. The man said, no, I should not talk like that. So I said, no problem. After like 30 minutes, then you see, it's one person we were looking for. Then two people now came. The man now came and met me and said, Shebi, you paid for an extra seat. Give it to this. I told him, never. No. He now said, okay, no problem. You sit in front, then your guys will be at the back. Then these two people will lap themselves in the car. I said, who do you want to inconvenience my people? I said, no, I'm not going to do that. As I was saying this, no, I'm not going to do that, I was feeling like, hope will not sleep here, Sha. But I needed to prove to the man that even me, I can be unreasonable. We stayed there. We finally left there. I think maybe we left there by like 4 p.m. We got to Akwanga. By the time we got to Akwanga, the car filled up very fast. Well, there was an extra space. We paid for the extra space. So we started coming. When we were like 45 minutes from Akwanga, I just noticed, because I was sitting in front, I just noticed that the battery light was on. I knew that there was a problem. The man just parks the car. He just said, bro, the alternator belt has caught. And he was saying this thing in Hausa, so the thing was, and you see, he was not annoying, he was just explaining what has happened. He said, the belt has caught. We need headlamp for this journey. So, if it was in the day, we would have just gone. But now, we need headlamp. So, we need to fix this thing before we leave. That's how the man parked the car. So, we had to wait. They had to bring the belt from Akwanga. So, we waited there. We were there till like to 8. It was like to 8. We now started leaving. By the time we got home, it was like 11 p.m. You see, the reason why I'm describing this thing to you is because it will never happen again. You don't understand. There are things that I've divorced. This was the last one. It will never happen again. I'm not doing again. Yes. You don't understand. I told them, you see, when I went to Lagos first and they came by road to Lagos. By like 8 p.m. I messaged, I didn't get a response. By like 11, I called, I didn't get a response. By 12, I couldn't sleep. I called, I didn't get it. Their phones were off, both of them. I called Casey by like past 1. I said, send me Samson's other number. She sent me. I called, it was off. Ha! You see, I had thoughts. I say, has Satan finally caught me? Like, I just started thinking. Then the Holy Ghost say, young man, calm down and sleep. So I said, okay, let me sleep. But I couldn't sleep. So I put a movie I was watching. Then I think it was like past 2. I just saw a message from Samson. I could literally see the Holy Ghost doing me like this. They got to Lagos by 4 a.m. They left Jos by 9 a.m. They got to Lagos by 4 a.m. And I've told myself that it will never happen again. Yes. Because in every season of our life, God is enough for us. And you see that season, it ended yesterday. Day before yesterday, that season closed. Some of you don't know. Yes, sometimes God used to allow us to know when doors are closing and doors are opening. I remember when I used to preach before. In fact, last time I had a car, there was some of you, I had one Benz like that I used to use. That Benz traveled everywhere in this country. But the problem was that I used to have back pain. So that time, anytime I'm preaching, I used to travel, drive and all of that. But I used to have back pain. When I came back to Jos after NYC in 2019, I now told God, I said, Father, anywhere that I'm traveling to preach, that I can fly, if I don't fly, if I cannot fly, it's not your will for me to go. It's not your will. So, you will provide ticket money. If there's no ticket money, it's not your will. And God said, correct. That's when I realized that God was waiting for me to decide. Now, this doesn't happen every time, but I'm just telling you. That's why when I tell you that this is the last time it has happened, me, I used to know when doors have closed. It's almost as if something very remarkable will happen that will provoke you and say, Kai, I will never eat Gary again. Maybe I will need to teach you, yes, I may need to teach you how God shifts us in seasons. Because a lot of times you used to say it's a new season, it's a new season. There's no new season. It's the same season. But there are actually times when it's actually a new season. And you need to realize, you need to be able to recognize it. Are you following me? You need to be able to recognize when it has come, and you need to be able to know how to walk out of this season and enter into the next one. If not, you may enter into that season and you'll be living with the punishment of the past season. God actually does give us richly all things to enjoy. And there's a season of your life where God brings you into that place. Are you following me? Purpose will still be happening, but the stress will be reduced. But God will test your heart first. He will test it with pain. He will check to see whether you are happy to do it with suffering. He will test it and he will try it. And then when you pass, you say, hey, allow him to enjoy the bounties of the house. That's actually how God works. Are you following me? So that are you here? So that you must learn how to abase before you will abound. You must learn abasement. Because the principles you learn when you are abasing are the principles that will keep you when you are abounding. When you are abasing, you will learn to trust God because you don't have any other thing to trust. Even if you wanted to trust money, you don't have the money to trust. So it's only God you can trust. So you will trust him in that day. So that when he brings you into the place where you have money, you will by experience know that God is trustworthy. And this money is not enough to trust. Are you following me? Yes. God gives us richly all things to enjoy. A season will come where that is the story of your life. But you see, that season, for that season to come, God will need to test you to see whether you are okay to live without it. If all you have is pleasing him and never having pleasure and only having pain and suffering, God will check to see. And if God sees that that's the case, God is happy to allow you to enjoy. Do you get the point? Now go to verse 18. Paul says that you should tell the rich people that they do good, that they be rich in good works, ready to distribute, willing to communicate. Kai, give me an easier translation. Because all these distribute communicate. You may think they are talking of gist. Instruct them to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous, willing to share. This is instruction to rich people. Instruct them to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous, to be willing to share. Next verse. Storing up for themselves a good foundation for the age to come, so that they may take hold of life that is real. You know, Jesus said that where your treasure is, that's where your heart will be. It is possible to lay up for yourself riches in places where moth cannot destroy. And it's possible to lay up for yourself riches in places where moths can destroy. It is possible that your riches is stored in corruption. Meanwhile, the person who is rich and who shares, who does good, who is generous, part of what he's doing is that he is laying a good foundation for himself to the age that is to come. I'm saying to you that there will be rewards for your giving in eternity. Are you following me? Yes, God will reward you here. God will bless you here. He will reward you there. He will bless you here. He will reward you there. Are you following me? And I'm saying to you that when he says, charge them that are rich, I don't want you to understand this thing to mean when you have like 18 cars, that's when this one applies to you. You need to begin to learn it now. Learn it now. Learn it now. that you can be a blessing to somebody and the person will never be able to give you anything. In fact, the person cannot even tell you God bless you well. Are you following me? Yes. This is how you need to learn generosity. You need to learn to give so that you can be the kind of person that God can trust with finances. If you are stingy, it will be hard for God to bless you financially because God knows that you are an end to yourself. But if God sees that through you he can reach many, God is happy to commit things to your hand. Do you get the point? It's a good place to close. We'll continue on Sunday. Bow your heads. You will learn the lessons that you need to learn now. You will learn the lessons that you need to learn now, so that the doors can be opened into the places that you need to get into. You will not prolong your journey in the wilderness. You will not delay your progress because you have not learned the things that you are meant to learn. You will be generous. You will be willing to share. You will be ready to distribute. You will be willing to do good works. That you will not only think of yourself when finances are involved, and as little as you have, you will be a blessing to somebody. You'll be a blessing to someone. You'll be a blessing to someone. The days are coming when the Lord will set you on the mountaintop. But I say to you tonight that you need to learn the lessons so that you will not become an unmitigated disaster. You need to learn the lessons. You need to learn the lessons. You need to learn the lessons. You will not only give because the person can bless you. You will not only give to expect a harvest. You will give to be the blessing. God said to Abraham, I will bless you and I will make you a blessing. Make you a blessing. And maybe our eyes need to begin to move from trying to be blessed and trying to become a blessing. I will be a blessing. Someone will think of me and say, thank God for Joshua. Not just because I prayed for them, but because I shared my goods with them. Because I gave to them. I gave clothes, I gave shoes, I gave money, I gave bags, I gave cars. I will be a blessing. 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 As the Lord blesses me, I will bless others. As the Lord gives to me, I will give to others. As He increases me, I will increase in my giving. In Jesus' name we have prayed. Amen. A couple of announcements, important announcements, very important announcements that we need to take before we leave. Next week, 20th, the offering baskets can go around. Next week, 20th to 22nd, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday is the Forge. Alright? Where's the flyer for the Forge? Where is it? Is it out? It's not out. It's not out. Alright. We'll have it by Sunday. The Forge, 20th, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And then next week Sunday, not this Sunday, next week Sunday will be Bethesda, is our miracle service. And like I said to you, we're going to be trusting the Lord for all kinds of miracles, including financial miracles. Alright? If there are sick people, begin to tell them the Sunday, 24th, is going to be a Sunday of miracles, healing, deliverance, all sorts of things. I need to find a way to ensure that we begin to share testimonies. There are too many testimonies that are being left unshared. So I need to find a way. So I'll see, I'll think about it. We'll come up with a plan.